Marcy. Going to call us to order. Thank you, everyone, for your attention and for being here. Just a reminder that tonight's
38 p.m. and those in attendance are Carla Gergiolo is absent, Joanne Harris,
Present.
Josie Martinez,
Present.
Andrea Sanchez Muniz is absent, Marianne Valdez Hernandez,
Here.
Fernanda Cardenas is absent, Michelle Dalbis Robledo is absent, Marcy Ince,
Present.
Beth Graham, Judy Cruz,
Present.
Preet Kaur.
present.
For chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. So we'll start with public comments. If anyone came to the meeting today in person with the intention to provide public comments but did not have a chance to sign up, please see Sydney at the back of the room. And we have two individuals that are signed up. The first one is Jade Pacheco.
Hello again, my name is Jade Pacheco. I'm a community builder with Act 4SA, as many of y'all know. I'm just here again to urge y'all to not make permanent the program contracting cops to patrol the library. We also want to ask that y'all work with community organizations here on safety solutions. Not just, we do appreciate that you've included us in the research and to be able to input there, but we know the constituencies and communities that we represent, and we can help build a safety program that does not put people at risk of being entrapped in the criminal legal system. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
And next is Michael Nashby.
My name is Michael Nashby. I am the Right to Justice organizer for the Texas Organizing Project here in. I'm here speaking on behalf of those who believe our libraries should be places of learning, not fear or anxiety. The presence of police inside our central library can create an atmosphere of intimidation, especially for Black and brown San Antonians, immigrants, and our unhoused neighbors. Studies have shown that an increase in police presence oftentimes does not lead to an increase in public safety. In fact, it can push vulnerable community members deeper into the criminal legal system. Libraries can and should be safe, welcome spaces. Adding law enforcement is not necessary. We don't need armed officers. We need trained social workers, de-escalation specialists, and community-based solutions. Over 20 libraries across the country use this model very successfully, and San Antonio can do the same. By keeping cops out and investing in real community safety, we protect the dignity and well-being of all library users. This isn't just about safety, it's about justice, equity, and care. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a quick check with Sydney. Any other? Okay, thank you. Thank you all for those of you who have been here. And then we did receive some public comments online, and just in aligning with city council practices, those will be read into the agenda, but will not be read out loud. And just a quick check. Do we need to state the name of the person who submitted the agenda, or will that all be read into the record? Okay. Cool, thank you. Next on the agenda is a report from the library board chair. So I am very happy to be here today. The first thing that I'll talk about, probably the bulk of my update, will just be to lots of praise for the San Antonio Book Festival, which was just a wonderful event. I know I saw many of my fellow trustees and many members of staff at the event. Had an absolutely great time, in addition to all the amazing festival lineup, and I enjoyed meeting with some authors and picked up a couple books and got those signed as well, so that was fun. And I have to give a shout out, two shout outs actually. One to Amy Hone, the foundation. I just continue to be mesmerized by all the work that you all do and the number of books that you all gave away, which I'm sure you're going to share in your update. But just seeing kids get their free books, it's like a magical, magical moment. So thank you for that. And I don't see, oh, I have to lean to see Liz Alves because she's behind the podium. But I'm using my friend's library tote, my canvas tote, and it is, everyone's been asking me like, hey, where'd you get that? And so I've been sending them to your website. I'm like, everyone can get their own. So I just think it's a wonderful event. So many of the people I met were like, I can't believe this is free. And it's just a testament to the far-reaching impact that our library stakeholder organizations can make. And then I'll also mention that I had an opportunity to visit with the city manager for an update on Project Marvel. And that was a community input meeting. And that was a very informative item as well. I know there's been a lot of questions about that, and it sounds like there will be continued town hall meetings. And, okay, and with that, I'm going to conclude my report. I'll ask for reports from trustees, and then I realize I missed an item on the agenda for the approval. So after the trustees' report, we'll go back to that. The approval of the minutes, sorry. So can I start with you, Michelle?
Pardon me for not being here right when the start was, but traffic intense now that there's a little rain on the ground. For our particular libraries, my libraries are Forest Oaks and Maureen Maverick. They are doing well. I made sure to stop and visit and actually reveal who I was to Jeff, and he was surprised, to say the least. And what I want to say is this last month, going to the book festival was outstanding. If you haven't been before, if you go every year, I think this year was just unbelievable, wonderful opportunities to meet with authors and to learn and progress. And that's it.
I attended meetings of the Budget, Advocacy, and Facilities Committees. I also went to the book festival and also was amazed. They did their usual outstanding job. I'm not sure, but I think the crowd was bigger than I've seen, so I think the event is definitely growing. And then last night, I had the opportunity to attend Councilman Mark White's District 10 Fiesta celebration.
I also attended the budget meeting, and I also went to the book festival, and the day was just beautiful. And those of who've gone for many years, some days are not quite as beautiful as that, but that was a Chamber of Commerce day, and it was lovely. I love the touch of having our lunch at Club Giroux. I thought that was a really great way to incorporate it. It was close by, and the lunch was great, and I thought that was smart. I'm always amazed by the organization, how difficult it's got to be to put an event like this on. The amount of details are amazing, and it went off flawlessly, and it was perfect. I have one question when we get a chance. I was just curious, there didn't seem to be as many out-of-state authors this time, and I was just, if anybody can shed light on that, that'd be interesting, because almost every session I went to was with Texas offering, and I didn't see much out-of-state at all. So I'd just be curious on that. Also came in last night and saw a wonderful, wonderful movie. It's going to be on KLRN on Tuesday night. The whole thing is about an hour and a half. So last night was just a preview of it. It was about 30 minutes. And it's on libraries. And it really, other than parks, libraries is America's best idea. and it really makes you understand how difficult it is to start off something like getting libraries going, and women were not even allowed to read at certain points. I mean, it was fascinating. It was absolutely wonderful. In fact, I was a little late getting to it, so I stayed and watched the whole thing again and loved it even more the second time. So I encourage you all to watch that on Tuesday night. It was fabulous.
Okay, excuse me. I went to the book festival, and I went to a pre-book festival. The book festival, they had 2 authors on Friday, and it was at the Little Carver, which is the Carver Community Center, but it's the Little Carver that's on to the back. And they had an author, and their book was On Again, Awkward Again, and it was primarily for teenagers. And so they had the young men, the Leadership Men Academy that's located on the east side. They had that group there, and then they had some homeschoolers. I can't remember the complete name, but it's something about culture, homeschoolers, that a whole group of them that were there. And so it was well attended, and they had a ball, and they talked about the kids and different type of things that ninth graders go through. And so it was very informative, and the kids had a wonderful time. I was able to get a free book. They gave all the kids a free book, signed book also. So I did come to the festival on Saturday, and I came in the afternoon. This was my first time ever coming in the afternoon, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful and a little hot, but it was really nice. And to me, it was, I think they had more vendors this time, it seemed like. But it was really a fantastic event. Also, I did go to the Schaefer's Friend meeting yesterday. I was passing by, and they were there. I was going to vote, and I saw them there, so I stuck into their meeting, to the Friends meeting. I enjoyed that. On May the 8th, they're having their annual Pan-African Cultural Festival, and that's going to be at the Carver Library. So if you are on that side of town, it's on the outside and the inside of the library. It'll be something very fantastic for you to take in if you go in. Thank you.
I would say even if you're not on that side of town, that is a really amazing festival, and something impressive about that festival is like they use every single piece of space inside and outside Carver Branch.
I was able to have my introductory meeting with Sucrit, and that was very lovely. It was good. It was about, getting to know the city a little bit more and all of the districts and all of the different library branches. Also went to the book festival, spent all day there, didn't realize it because it was just so fantastic. Made new friends. Interesting part, I made a new friend who lives in Maryland, who was originally from San Antonio, lives in Maryland, but bought a ticket just to come to the book festival, said, well, worth it, because the cost of doing something up there, like with a book festival, she was like, it's just well worth the ticket. She's like, it's just too expensive to do an event like that up there. And so I made new friends. She was very excited to come. I was able to also attend with Joanne and Andrea, the mayor's last State of the City address. And that was very nice. And just for the record, I want to thank Mayor Nuremberg for his last 8 years, and he was a big supporter of libraries as well as equitable services across the city. So thank you for the last 8 years. Let's see here. I went to Nature Fest at the IGO Library on Saturday, which was really well attended. I went in the afternoon, which it had died down apparently by then, and it was so nice because I was able to actually talk to the people at the booths about gardening, so that was really nice. And looking forward to watching the KLRN special next Tuesday. That was it.
I too attended the book festival, which was a great event. I only got to do the kids portion of the event since I had my 2-year-old with me, but a ton of fun. We got to go on the bus, and he picked out a book, and he played with all of the cool interactive toys on the foundation's bus, and so that was really great to see him. He's a lot more hands-on now, so that was really exciting and fun. And then just a little reminder for people, Landa Garden Conservancy is kicking off May month, and if you have never been to their May month festivities, definitely check that out. They have a ton of fun events, not only for adults but for kids too, so if you haven't added that to your calendar, please do.
Madam Chair, I usually try to keep my report very succinct, but I had a wonderful April, and I have a lot to say, so if you'll indulge me. In addition to my journey, my yoga journey and my meditation journey at Pan American, I started off the month on April 2nd visiting Mission Library with the Little Red Wagon, and I hadn't been to the Little Red Wagon sessions in a long time, and Kristen took time to talk to me about what they do there, and it was just so exciting to see all those little learners and how excited they were with all of the activities, and I'm going to make sure and get to that more often because it just kind of refreshes me. April 9th, I attended the Facilities Committee meeting. I also was at the book festival on April 19th, and there really sticks out in my mind 2 sessions that really touched my heart. Stephen Harrigan wrote a book about the story of the children of Fatima, and it's something that I've been devoted to for a long time, and it just gave a new and different perspective, and I just love that, and it really enlightened me. Also, I went to the Poetry and Verse in Texas. That was a visit with Lucy Griffith and one of my all-time favorites, Naomi Shihab Nye. And I have a story about Miss Nye. Back in the 2000s or so, when I was an elementary school teacher at St. Martin Hall, which is was the demonstration school at Our Lady of the Lake University, we had an opportunity to have her come and visit my classroom, my 5th grade classroom. And it was so impactful. She brought her young son with her, and she just took the time to talk to the kids about poetry and read poetry to them and encouraged them to write poetry, and she read their poetry. It was just a magical, magical time. And I keep in touch with some of my students, and they never stopped talking about it. Even into adulthood, they would remind me about Naomi Nye and Naomi Nye's visit. And that is the beauty of poetry. It just lands on your heart and stays on your heart and on your mind, and it's such a powerful tool for expression. And I just was, and you know how I get when I'm around authors and whatever, and I went up to her and I reminded her, I said, back a long time ago you visited. She says, "You're talking to me, I see your face." She says, "I remember that visit." And she must have had thousands and thousands of visits, but that visit she remembered, and she remembered those kids and what we did in that classroom and how it was so impactful. And I'll never forget that. Let's see, where else? Last night, the love letters to the library, I was like, oh, you know. It was just so wonderful. Yeah, you know, we learn all that, the story in library school and all, but when it was just this presentation that KLRN and PBS put together, it just is. When I first heard about it, I was like, oh God, what people are going to want to know about the history of librarianship and libraries? But they made it so intriguing. It's just a story that you want more of. And that 30 minutes that they showed us, that clip last night, just wasn't enough. So I can't wait for that. What else? Today, we had a marvelous visit Liz Elvis and myself and Jessica was there at Pan American Library, and we had the opportunity to talk with Nicole, the kind of brand-new manager there, and we're trying to get that Friends group back up and running, and I have good feelings about it. I have really strong feelings that we're going to be able to do that under the leadership of Nicole and with the help of the Friends, and we just think that June, what is that date that we talked about, June 5th or so, when we're going to have the opening for the summer reading program. We think that that's going to be a fabulous opportunity for us to try to get people involved with Friends in the neighborhood, and I'm really, really looking forward to that. I think that's the end of my report. Thanks.
I also went to the book fair, and it was just wonderful. I mean, I went last year, and I knew I was going to have a good time, and got to attend a couple of sessions at the book fair. I also went to visit one of my libraries, the Bazan Library, and I also attended the facilities committee meeting. That's it.
Yes, thank you. I did get a chance to meet with my appointee, that's why I was running a little late, in regards to some initiatives and some ideas that we're excited to present to Madam Chair and our new director in regards to programming, how to improve our libraries and programming that will benefit our community.
And before we move to the director's report, I skipped over a very important agenda item, which is the approval of the minutes from the March 26th board meeting. The minutes are in the packet and were also sent ahead of time via email. So I will entertain a motion for approval. Thank you, Marcy.
I second.
Okay, and a second from Joanne. Thank you. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right. To our library director, I know you have some exciting news to share.
Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to share a few highlights and updates from the last few weeks here at SAPL. We held our Staff in Service Day on April 11th. That was my first Staff in Service Day. I had the pleasure of welcoming our incredible team with a short video message to kick things off. It was a great opportunity for staff across the system to come together, reflect, and recharge. The very next day, we hosted the San Antonio Book Festival right here at the Central Library and outside, and at the UTSA Southwest campus. It was lively, as you can all hear the comments from our Board of Trustees. It was lively, inspiring, and very well attended. I had the chance to attend several events and enjoyed connecting with the trustees, stakeholders, and community members, and of course, our amazing staff. It was truly a celebration of reading and the community. On April 14th, I attended the Cody Branch Public Art Community Meeting with one of our trustees. The Department of Arts and Culture presented the scope and themes for the upcoming public art project and collected feedback from the community members. It was a great example of collaboration and creativity at work. I also attended the Mayor's State of the City address on April 15th. It was inspiring to hear the vision for San Antonio's future from many, many members I met that day, and also reflect to how SAPL continues to be a vital part of that story. I had few Fiesta medals with me, and I handed those over to a few of our colleagues there, community members, and they were amazed by the artwork. I'm not going to go into detail, but few people were very impressed because that was designed by in-house with Scott's team. And just yesterday, we hosted a special preview of the PBS independent lens film, Free for All, the public library, in collaboration with KLR, and that's what a few of our Board of Trustees were mentioning. Marcy mentioned how amazing that was. They only showed a small preview, short preview, I believe the movie will be available on the 14th. I might, on next Tuesday, okay. So the movie will be available next Tuesday. And it will be free, so you can just download it. And I believe we will have some information here at the library where you can just scan the barcode and then you'll be able to watch that film. Early voting also began yesterday for the May 3rd general election. We are proud to have 16 of our SAPL locations serving as early voting sites, with 3 more open on election day. So it's always wonderful to see our libraries in action in civic spaces. Coming up soon on Sunday, May 4th, we will celebrate this year's Young Pegasus Poetry winners. This is, I believe, our 99th year of doing it. So this event will be at Jack Gunther Pavilion at the Briscoe Western Art Museum. So just a reminder that parking is going to be an issue, so please try to find nearby garages for parking. And just a quick heads up, under agenda item 16, Randall will be presenting some great improvement to our performance report. So we'll probably have some good conversation on that. I also want to take a moment to recognize 2 of our staff members who are moving on to new opportunities. Nicholas Bilota, our executive secretary, will be wrapping up his time with SAPL on April 25th, this Friday. Nicholas joined us in March of 2023, and we wish him the very best as he moves on to new opportunities. Also, Jake Orland, our public service administrator, he's also back there. He will be leaving us on May 16th. Jake has been part of SAPL since 2018 and will be continuing his career with the New York Public Library. Our San Antonio Public Library is also to do like oohs and ahs. It's a great library system, just FYI. So we thank Jake for his years of service. We wish him every success on exciting new chapter. Now, before I wrap up, I would like to take a moment to recognize our Assistant City Manager, Mr. David McCary. David, your leadership and support are truly appreciated by everyone at SAPL, so thank you. Now, that concludes my report, and I'm looking forward to the conversations ahead tonight. Thank you.
Any questions for the director? Questions on the director's report, perhaps?
Had a comment. I know in executive session, we had talked about getting an update from the book festival, and I think we're going to do that in May, right? Yes. Okay.
And just to provide additional context, the book festival is such a big event that they plan for so long. Generally, the April board meeting, everyone's like just recovering from their team. And so they'll come in May and provide us with the updates. And we can also ask the question about the mix of author locations, like if there was more from Texas or if that was, I happened to be in a session that was someone from Philadelphia, but that would be a great question to ask, so save that one for. Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely ask that. My question is just about the hours of technology in the director's report, so this is on page 5, and it seems like we have like a continued trend where those are going down. Is this still related to the Wi-Fi routers and like a new way of measuring, or is there more, like at what point do we look at this trend line and start to be concerned?
So we don't believe there is anything to be concerned. It's like just like what we mentioned in our last month's meeting. It is the new equipment, and it's measuring, it's counting the visits in a different way. And we can have Adam, if you would like to come up and explain that a little more.
Technical, but essentially the way that Wi-Fi was tracked and the way people accessed networks when the equipment was originally installed didn't require quite as much authentication and security layers. So people could use the internet without jumping through the hoops, essentially, that we do put them through today. So now that we know that there's this hoop, which is that login screen when you first come in and try to use your mobile device on one of our networks, if it doesn't sense that you've passed through that, it won't count that traffic.
Okay, and so they're not using the network unless they go through that, or is it
Right,
network
it's
still
essentially
working?
saying that was not enough time for you to pass the screen and start using the Wi-Fi. It's just your phone talking to the Wi-Fi device very quickly.
Yeah. Okay, and do you think that for next month, you could give us a month over month, so we could just get an idea of that 21, like it's showing negative 21, but that's year over year, so
Yeah.
that will help us
You want to see
understand.
like
'cause-
how, basically how it's measured.
Yeah, just to
right
see
now.
if, yeah, I think that will help us to get good insight. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
So I have a question, the director's report. If you look at page 8, we see that early literacy programs has over 1,000 programs, school age programs has over 1,000 programs, teens have over 1,000 programs, adults have over 1,000 programs, yet the older adults programming is less than 500. Is there any particular reason why every other demographic has more than 1,000 programs and older adults has less than 500?
I think I will have to look into this, but I can see if Dale has some input on this. And we'll wait for Dale to come up here, but this is the question I have been asking too, like just for programming in general, like what kind of programs we are doing, how many times in a day we are doing story time, and what are we doing to reach out to the community to give and provide more programming. But your question is very pointed, so I think Dale might have the answer.
Certainly, all adult programs are open to older adults, and I think that is part of the, our program for preschoolers is only open to preschoolers. Teens is only for teens, whereas adult programs are, of course, open to everyone. It is something we have been focusing on, and I think you'll see the number increasing, but it really is just a gradual increase. As we're getting, more people know, then more people are coming.
Any other additional questions?
Well, I was just going to make a comment about the older adults because I'm not saying I'm an older adult, but the ones that I have gone to with the libraries, a lot of them have been put on by AARP. And so I was wondering if they need to get more involved, or do they even count the ones from AARP?
Is there someone who can answer that question? You might as well just stay up here, Dale.
So if the library partners with AARP and we're doing the program together, that counts as a program. And generally, if it's AARP, it probably would be a program for older adults. Depending on what the context is, we might even just call that an adult program, just depending what they were speaking about. Now, if AARP, is using a library meeting room for some other purpose, then we just count that as a use of the meeting room, of course, and not as a program. But we do work very closely with them. It's a great partner.
And then one last thing, I'll just say about the director's report, and that I know Adam is going to provide us with additional information about the hours of technology use and the Wi-Fi use. If we find that, I think it's a good opportunity for us to rebaseline if we find that the counting is different, so that it doesn't show that we're behind, if this is like the true, thing. So just a comment about that. And then, yeah, I'm sorry. You had additional updates or? Yeah.
So that is something staff discussed, but we wanted to be so transparent. We wanted to show these facts first, have these conversations, and then the plan is to adjust these.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and thank you for the consideration in that. I also wanted to just express my appreciation on behalf of the board for both Nicholas and for Jake. You've been an important part of the team for the last several years, and you will definitely be missed. Wish you both lots of luck on your future endeavors. And I also wanted to express my appreciation, Sukrit, for your perseverance in visiting all of the branch locations in a very short amount of time. I think it's been like 7 weeks that you've been here, and it sounds like you've made it to all of the branch locations and done your initial visit. Of course, won't be your last, but I think that's very commendable. It's a great job with that. Okay, next we have the budget report.
Afternoon, board members and board chair. It's great to be back. I've missed you all. So I am Gabriella Rauschuber. I'm the department's fiscal administrator. I see a new face. Hi, Michelle. It's nice to meet you. I'm just going to give you a brief overview on the budget report as of the end of March, which is on the green sheets. I see you're turning there now. So 50% of the fiscal year had elapsed as of the end of March. And we were at 51% spent, which includes encumbrances, or 49% without them. So overall, we are on track in our spending. Kathy may have mentioned this last month as well, but you'll notice that some of the categories are ahead of schedule, ahead of the 50% mark. So one of those categories is the contractual services. There we do some annual payments up front at the beginning of the year. And there's also the accounts that have the encumbrances on them, which just holds the funds for particular purposes, and then we pay it out throughout the rest of the year. And then other categories, like the capital outlay category, is going to be under schedule, and that's due to the planning, the procurement process, the ordering, and the receiving of those items. Those just take a little bit longer to address with the group and planning. I also wanted to point out that you will notice that some accounts are over budget while some accounts are under budget. This is normal. In the city, we are, the budget control is at the department level, not at the account level. So we do monitor that and ensure that we are within our budget for the year. And as part of the monitoring of our budget throughout the year, there is a mid-year adjustment that does go to City Council. That'll happen in May, which sort of just aligns our account budgets with the spending that we're doing. So that was my report, but if anybody has any particular questions, I can take them now.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Welcome back. Next, we have a report from the Executive Committee, and the committee did meet on April 15th to set tonight's agenda. Next, a report from the Advocacy Committee.
We did not meet.
Okay, thank you. And a report from the Budget Committee.
We did meet, and we met on April the 2nd, and Kathy will be giving a report with an action item.
Later on the agenda, we have an action item. Okay, thank you, Kathy. Next, we have a report from the Facilities Committee, and Andrea is not here yet, but I understand that they met on April 9th, and Mark will be providing an update.
Good afternoon, trustees. Thank you, sir. So yes, we had our Facilities Committee meeting on April 9th. We had no action item, but we did have an extensive list of project updates, and I will be providing them today for you, if we can get this to... Is there an on button? Ah. Nope. Oh, there we go. Okay. Or are you doing it? Oh, okay. Yeah, that works. Okay. So we do have a construction report in your packet, which we did change up a little bit this month to align more with the other director reports. We have put all the capital projects in the specific districts, so you can get all of your capital project reports in the specific district that you might be interested in. We do have some bond project reports to provide for you today. The Carver Branch Library. This is the $12.5 million project. That is, we're going to do a phase one of the project, which will transform the existing Carver Library into a 22,000 square foot addition for meeting and gathering spaces. And then we have a phase 2, if funded, would add a further expansion of approximately 7,700 square feet. You folks approved the schematic design back in January for that project, and it's moving through the design development phase now. They have Public Works has the pricing from our contractor. They're going to meet with us next week to review that with the final design, and then we will be bringing that final design to the Facilities Committee and Board at their June meetings for their review and hopeful approval. The Las Palmas Branch Library, that is a $6.7 million bond project that's been moving along from 2017 and the 2022 bond program. This will provide a comprehensive improvements to the existing branch with an expansion to the branch of an additional 22,000 square feet and the community room at the front. This project, construction began on September 22nd, or September 24th, 2024, on phase 2 of the project. That's been moving along fairly steadily. They had some very good progress this past week. Got some concrete poured, which I'll show some pictures of in a minute. We are moving along to expedite the reopening of Las Palmas as quickly as we can. We have started post-construction meetings with library personnel to start working through all the details of what we have to do to do all the steps that we have to take. Just as an example, we also have the monument sign that was installed in March. This will be used during the reopening process to advertise when we'll be reopening the branch. Here's a major milestone that was achieved April 11th when we poured the concrete for the new addition. They've been waiting for a month or so to do that because they had some delays with weather and the rain. So that was a huge step, so now they can start moving forward on building that space out. Texana Resource Center, the bond project there, what we've been doing, rebuilding the 6th floor, the 16,000 square feet of the 6th floor. That is going to become a world-class research and genealogy area, as you know. We have a couple photos. We've got the donor wall on the right-hand side. That's being installed, and then we have the ceiling grid in the vault being installed, and you can see the track on the floor. That's going to be for the high-density rolling shelving that we're installing there. And that's all for my updates. If anyone has any questions, I would be more than happy to entertain.
I have a question on for Las Palmas. As work progresses and we get closer to the fall, would it be possible for library staff to begin doing the internal work on the library part of it, reshelving and all that kind of thing, while construction continues on the addition?
We have been looking at that as to how we can schedule that in. We actually had a couple of site meetings over there 2 weeks ago. We coordinated with the contractor to where they weren't working in the library part, so we were able to get some of our folks in there to get eyes on the actual place and see what it looks like. So they're starting to put their plan together on how we can coordinate that with the contractor to make sure we have a safe environment to work in, but also a secure environment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We are going to get a new partial refresh of the collection, so I know that's going to kind of play into how we start restocking the shelves and things like that. And unfortunately, it is still an active construction site, so there's still a lot of dust, and so the contractor will kind of have to do a final clean before we really get in there to do a whole lot on the shelves. But we do have a very comprehensive project plan that we develop, and we've got a lot of activities planned. We involve the entire library group along with ITSD and our other city departments. We get their input on this, and so everybody knows what they have to do when the time comes to do it. So once we get the time to move in, we can go ahead and get started, and we will be expediting that process as much as we can. We're going to do activities concurrently whenever we have the opportunity to do that, whenever it's practical and safe to do. So we're going to get that place reopened as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm.
It says here December, anticipation to be done, December.
December?
That's what it said in.
That's just a tentative date right now.
Okay, tentative. So the solar, we still don't know when that's going to be put in, correct?
Solar will be installed after the bond project's done, so we'll coordinate with Office of Sustainability on that whole process. Once we're waiting on Public Works kind of to give us a time when the contractor says they're going to be done. They need to revise their schedule, and I'll be honest with you, now that they've got that concrete poured in the front, they should be able to get us a decent schedule pretty soon, and then we'll be able to coordinate with.
And the parking lot, it's a big parking lot. You're going to repave and put more lines on there for parking and all that.
We have got that on the project plan to work out. Yes.
Thanks, Mark.
I had a similar question. about Las Palmas, the solar has to be done after the bond portion, but can be done while the new space is being constructed, is that correct?
It can be done while the post-construction process is going on with the library, yes. So basically what they want to do is they want to have the contractor cleared off the site before another contractor comes on. And so once the work is done with the front of the plaza, and then we will get in and start our post-construction process, and then the solar folks can plan their process as well.
And do we think that there will be like additional closures required for the solar installation? It won't, okay, okay, great.
And I know there will be a time when they have to do the electrical switchover like they did at IGO, and that'll usually be done in the mornings on a Monday or Tuesday before we open, yeah.
And then another question about Las Palmas, there was a slide that says a lower portion of the monument sign will be used for Metro Health. How would that happen? Is it also an LED sign, or?
No, that'll just be a static printed sign that's put up there, yes.
So it's like the white and blue section, or?
Yeah, I believe it's just going to have their Metro Health emblem in the.
Oh, it's just like a, to let others know that they're in that co-located, okay. Thank you, thank you.
Another question for Mark. I think we talked about this in facilities meeting, about using the sign already and kind of weren't telling people when it'll be open or when we anticipate it to be open, things like that. Is that correct?
Yes, we're planning on activating the sign probably a month to a month and a half. I mean, once we really determine a date that we're going to be reopening, then we'll start using that sign actively to promote. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then one additional question, this one's about Texana, the donor wall installation. Is that for donations that the foundation has already secured for us, or is that for future donation opportunities?
That is for current donations that they've already secured, but there's also some blank spaces if they obtain some more funding, yes. We have room for growth.
Okay, awesome. Okay, thank you, Mark. Next is a report from the naming committee.
Naming committee did not meet, however, there is an item on the agenda for approval, and that's item number 18.
And a report from the ad hoc board policy committee. Okay, thank you. And then a report from the ad hoc ILA committee. The committee did meet on April 15th, and I'm also happy to report that on April 22nd, Assistant City Manager David McCary facilitated a meeting with Bexar County Deputy County Manager Thomas Guevara, and Sucrit also joined him for that meeting. Next is a report from the San Antonio Public Library Foundation.
Get closer. Oh, good night. Okay, now you guys are in trouble. So you do have to be really close to this one. So we, as several of you mentioned, we had our literacy caravan at the book festival. We did give away 3,200 books, and it was more manageable for us. Last year we gave away water, snacks, and books. We gave away 5,000 snacks last year, and that was bedlam. So we're really glad that we left that all to HEB this year, because they do a great job with the snacks and the waters, and so we just gave away books. So our volunteers got a chance to really help kids choose the books that were right for them. And then lots of kiddos enjoyed the activities on the caravan. So we are always, always, always happy to be there. It's one of the best networking events for us to meet teachers from schools that we add to our list of potential literacy caravan visits for the following school year. So I give out a ton of business cards, I get a ton of business cards, and then we vet those schools based on our parameters for the caravan program. And that's what we're doing with our program in May, is going out to those schools. So we've already finished our regular school year with the schools that we've been seeing, and we have a whole new crop of schools in May that we're putting into the funnel for next year. So we have our big map. If you guys haven't seen our big map and you're interested in seeing it, let me know. That overlays all the post-COVID years with the caravan, and shows how we cover the entire community with all 10 city council districts. We did have a couple of other fun things in April with our caravan. On April 10th, we had National Farm Animal Day, and so we had some baby goats come out to St. John Birchman's to interact with the kiddos, and that was a ton of fun. We actually added an additional Catholic school during the month of April because of STAR testing. We weren't able to fill all of our dates because the public schools, a lot of them are locked down, but we didn't want to have the caravan idle, so we added a couple of schools that are not involved in STAR testing, and that was fun. Especially when we got to see some younger kiddos with the baby goats, the 3-year-olds, the 4-year-olds, and the baby goats. It was the best day ever. So we also are continuing our reinvigorated partnership with HEB. HEB has given us to give to all of our caravan schools at the end of the year as gifts some really fun, crazy socks, some fun T-shirts, and stainless steel water bottles for all the kids. So we start the caravan year with a logoed Literacy Caravan backpack for all the kids, and then give them little trinkets throughout the year in addition to the books that they get every time we visit them. But HEB gave us all this fun swag that we got to give them at the end of the year. So that was a little bit of a new thing for us. I did have a meeting with Sukrit, Kathy, and Mark. We have a new board member who has a lot of very strong contacts with large construction firms and subcontractors. So this board member has now taken it upon himself to set a personal goal specifically with helping with HVAC systems and raising $250,000 this year to help with some immediate needs, and then helping with in-kind for some of those mechanical systems in the future. So that's something that's this is a fired up board member who is all about getting things done. So this is a potential for some pretty big things with the partnership, with the kind of influence that he has over folks. Katrina Ball preparations are well underway. I do have the QR code if any of you would like to see it or use it. Our website is up. That is for table sales sponsorship and also in-kind donations. You can just type, if you want to donate something, you can just type it in, and that produces your receipt and everything on the spot. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for you. I love your caravan school program. It's wonderful. Would you say that the caravan school program has already hit all the elementaries in San Antonio, or not yet?
No. Because we see the same. So after 3 rounds of pilot programs, we narrowed down the program to just second graders. Okay, so that's our sweet spot as far as where we can make the most impact. So the goals of the program are to increase kids' affinity for and familiarity with libraries. And so we do that by visiting the same group of kids once a month for almost the entire school year. We do stop in April because of STAR testing. Don't get me started on that. But so we visit them from August through the beginning of April. And what we do typically is see one school in each city council district. So the way that we choose those schools is we do look at the reading proficiency tests. We look at the schools at the bottom, and those tests are broken down by city council districts. So in each city council district, we look at the bottom, maybe 5, and then we contact them. We look at their demographics and make sure that they fall into, underserved communities, what our definition of that is. And then we talk to those principals and librarians and reading specialists and find out really who is the most amenable to us coming out there from those folks that are at the bottom. Then we select those schools and put that into our schedule. So it is our goal to hit every city council district every year, but that just means one school because we go back over and over and over and over again. But if we can raise more money for that program, we can increase it. Right now, we're only out 2 days a week.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Your new board member sounds like a wonderful find, is it possible that this person would be able to help with refurbing the sign at Tobin?
Yeah, we are working that. We're working that, not with this particular person, whose name I won't say in a public forum, because I don't want everyone calling him tomorrow. But we are working on that. That is on our top priority list of things to do, and we still have focus on that. We just haven't found anyone that's interested in funding that yet. But that's in our top handful of things that we're working on right now.
What was your question, Beth?
The sign at Tobin is in terrible shape.
Oh, okay.
It got hit by a car.
Mhm.
It's been badly weathered.
Yes.
And I've been being a nuisance about it.
It's on our radar, and we're working it. We're working it.
Any other questions for Amy? Okay, thank you.
Wait, I have one question.
Great. Oh,
Roy Maverick Library, put that air conditioning on quickly.
Okay, that's those. So we're just helping.
I know they're helping with
that's
that.
That's not
but
me. That's Kathy.
That library is going to be a mess, yeah. It gets really hot in there.
I'm not in charge of AC. I'm just trying to help.
I know, you got a guy out. You know a guy.
I know a guy.
We know
That's
a
right.
guy.
I always know a guy.
Thanks.
thanks, Amy, for the update. Next, we have a report from the Friends of the San Antonio Public Library.
The Friends Group have been very busy with branch meetings, book sales, working on recruiting new members, and I continue to attend all of these meetings. The good news is we lost our treasurer a while back. Barbara was taking over on that, and we have a new treasurer coming on, so that's a plus for us. The bad news I received on Good Friday is that our board secretary resigned, not due to me. Just want to clear that up. But anyway, Daniel is moving back to Austin, and so I did wish him well, but I was in a pinch, and I was able to get our new membership secretary to take over for him. And we are still receiving emails of people wanting to be the membership secretary. So I suggested we email them back, thank them for their interest, and we have an opening as a secretary. And we have several now, since this morning, that are interested in talking to us about being their secretary. So we are going to start interviewing, which is something that hasn't happened in the past, but I kind of like to meet with them and things like that. And so we are going to get that moving on. And I'm still meeting with board members and the presidents of the different Friends groups and doing a one-on-one. And that has gone very well, learned a lot, and having fun meeting these people, learning what their thoughts are about what they'd like me to focus on, but also what they'd like their branch to focus on. And I've sent out an email to our board members saying that you are going to be an active board and you are going to start having responsibilities. And I just think it's important to know that they have a job to do once they go on the board, and I'm making it happen for them now. I did meet with our District 2 council person regarding the Schaefer Branch parking lot, and that's being looked at now. The drawings are being reviewed. The book festival, we had a booth. It was great, all the trustees that came out and said hello to us. We really appreciate that. We helped sell the Fiesta medals, and we sold out of those at 2 o'clock. And that was a very good problem to have. Next year, and I'm giving you a heads up on this, we are going to have the first Friends of the San Antonio Public Library Fiesta Medal. So I'm going to tell you that start saving now, because I know it's going to be the first one. We've never had one. So I know you're going to want to buy one or two for your friends and yourself and everything. And then we have official letterhead now for the Friends of the San Antonio Public Library. I am totally excited about that. And it's just, it means a lot to me because we look like a real organization now. The other one looked like it was hammered out on a typewriter, which did not send a good message. So anyway, I'm excited about that. We have 2 letterheads. One is for donations, and if you send in money in honor of someone, and at the bottom of it, it will have our EIN number for tax purposes. Our other one did not. So I'm very proud of this one. I just think it says a lot about us that we're getting out there. We're going to start sending these out to the people for donations and that. And I think it's going to move quite well to make us look better and proud of being a member of the Friends. Again, as Josie Martinez mentioned, we met, and Jessica was there at the meeting at Pan American. Great meeting. I'm still pumped about it. It was great, and I'm ready to go to work with that library and start getting it rocking and rolling. And the ideas were great that came up from everyone this morning, so that's a good thing. The month of May is shaping up to be very busy for Friends. I want you to know our next meeting's on Sunday, May 18th at Memorial Branch Library. And for all of the trustees who want to be styling like the chairperson is, we're going to be selling tote bags. Look at that. Is that just not fantastic? Oh, I just love it. So if you want to be in the cool ladies group, see you on the 18th with a mere $20 in your hands. But anyway.
That's a deal.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And I want to thank the trustees for coming out and attending the Friends Board meeting and group meetings. And I'd also like to extend to you all, when a branch is having a meeting, for you all to try to come out. And I know we've had a problem that's been canceled and no one said anything after you've gotten there. I'm trying to get that problem taken care of. But it means a lot to these branch libraries when you all show up. It just puts a different air in the room. So thank you, and I hope you continue doing it.
Questions for Liz?
Oh, yeah. Hi. How is with the bookseller? I know y'all had to hire someone to take over the bookseller's portion.
With the bookseller? Well, you know, it's going to come out in our newsletter. Another thing I'm excited about in the newsletter, Ben has it all in there about how the sales have been going and the book fair sales and everything. You know, it couldn't ask for anything better. I mean, it is just, you know, $3,000 during book fair. I mean, that's just unheard of. And so, you know, it's just going great. The ideas, of course, they're on social media as well. Of course, I know you all have gone out and liked us on Instagram, and thank you very much. Our numbers are picking up on that too. And so, you know, we haven't even hit a whole month on it. So that's what's really great, that people are out there looking at us. But yeah, the bookseller is doing good. And the other thing I'm excited about, I had 2 libraries to write articles that I asked that haven't had articles in the SAPL newsletter. And I was looking at the copy of it today, and I thought, yes, they're either calling me in honor of Amy, the nagging wife, and they decided to do it, or they're really getting pumped up and they want to do it. So that makes me feel like I am reaching someone. So that's my report.
Thank you so much, Liz. Wonderful report and wonderful improvements. I really like this logo. Next, we have a staff report, an update regarding the San Antonio Public Library's Corazon collection.
Presented on Corazon a couple of times at this meeting, and a little over 1 year ago, February 14th, 2024, we introduced the city to the core zone collection. If you don't recall, the spirit of the collection is that we make, right now it's 112 titles of what I'm about to announce, available at every single branch location in physical format. We buy them in multiple languages as they're available. We buy them digitally in audiobook formats if they're available. And then we make sure that they do not float, so it will always return to the branch that owns it. The selection criteria, just to go over it, these are books that have to be at least a year old, because we need to know if their year-over-year popularity is staying strong before we commit to them to being in this collection. The library should, at the time that we introduce them into the collection, have at least 10 copies. Half of those need to be checked out. And at the end of the day, we want the collection to have diversity of voice, so we make sure that at least 30% of those titles have own voice authors writing them. Oh, so how did we do? I'm hoping your eyes pop and your jaws drop here, so I'm going to look at you all as I do the next slide. So our physical circulation, those are just the books on the shelf. We had 32,000 checkouts from the February 14th to February 13th of this year. Digital checkouts, 141,000 times. Thank you. Thank you. You made my day. All right. So we're coming back about a little over a year later to figure out what we want to do next with this. Clearly, there's popularity for this collection. It's been well received in the community, and we want to freshen it up a bit. So first off, we want to get rid of a few that didn't perform quite as well as we wanted, but are still dearly loved by the city, and we're introducing those into what we're now calling the Core Zone Collection alumni. They will have, essentially that frame in the middle is the sticker you'll see on the books themselves. So they'll forever be a part of the Core Zone Collection, but they won't be the central feature of the Core Zone Collection. Some of those titles are displayed to your left and right. We removed 18 titles this year, and we added 15. So this new incoming set of books, you probably are familiar with the titles you're seeing on the slide, represent books that came out basically in the last 2 years, since 2023, that have been just soaringly popular. We can't seem to keep them on the shelves enough, and so we want to make sure that every single branch, anyone who goes into branch will find a copy available to them there. And, oh, sorry, went a little bit too far. So I'm going to let Scott come up and talk about the marketing thing, or I don't know if you want to pause here if you have questions for me, or if we just want to wait one more slide.
We'll wait, hold our questions till the end.
Promise to be brief. This is cracking me up. I've been looking at this from the back of the room. It's not very helpful for you all to know that you need to speak into this mic, so I'm going to turn that around. I swear when I put that out, it was facing this way, so I'm not sure what happened.
Amy needed that when she was doing her.
Sorry about that, Amy. So we are excited to sort of reintroduce the Corazon collection to our community, and this update to the collection items gives us the perfect opportunity to do that. With the initial launch, we focused really heavily on branding and on merchandising this collection within the library spaces to raise awareness of a new collection, a new branded collection. The visual execution was fabulous and really well received, and so what you'll notice in the materials that we roll out this year is that we haven't deviated much from the core branding that we established last year. We want to make sure that people still recognize this before we maybe down the line in a few years iterate a little bit, with the exception of the alumni sticker, of course, which is bright gold. It brings out one of the more minor colors in this design and brings it to the forefront so that those items, the alumni items, will be distinguishable from the items that we have featured in the collection for that year. So this year, what are we going to do? We want to focus more on the evolution of the collection and how the refresh of Corazon responds to users' habits and community needs. So in our update to the printed brochure, which you each have a copy of in your packet, we'll be highlighting the new additions for this year. So that's that top section on the list, shows you exactly what has been added for this year to the Corazon collection. We'll also be diversifying our digital strategy a little bit. After an initial announcement of the refresh, we're going to transition more to a content-based digital strategy to market this collection. What I mean when I say content-based marketing is instead of just talking about the collection itself, creating content for our users and our followers that shows them elements of the collection. So one element that you'll see of that, one example is a weekly featured video review of newly added titles and a few of the alumni titles. The reviews will be short, they'll be directly kind of engaging with the viewer directly, so staff talking directly into the camera to share their thoughts and feelings about a particular title in the collection, and of course referencing a little bit of information about the Corazon collection and how the title fits in. So as you heard from Adam, Corazon's been a huge success, and we're all really proud of how well it's done. And we're excited to keep attention on this already very popular collection. So that concludes my part of the report, and we are here to answer questions.
And I just want to throw a couple more numbers at you, since you saw that, I know, I get discouraged from having too many slides, but 141,000 checkouts to 30,000 really does show you, I believe, the reach that digital has in the current era, that we're putting our money where our mouth is on that one. You can see on the slide that is not here that the digital checkouts, we had 13 per item in the collection, whereas in physical format, we had 9 per item at the Corazon collection. And you can compare that to what the average book in our collection does, which is 5 checkouts per year. So 13 checkouts per year for digital, 9 for the physical, all significantly more popular than the just average for the collection.
Can you tell us a little bit about the curating of the collection? You mentioned that you looked at past behaviors and made adjustments. Can you tell us a little bit about the adjustments that you made?
So we looked at what we were, how they performed, obviously. We didn't just remove like the bottom performers, and I don't want to name their names. You know, they're still fantastic books, and everyone should read them. But there were 15 new titles that met last year's criteria and outperformed the ones that were pulled from the collection. So when we saw what we were going to need to put in, we also wanted to make sure that the collection stayed diverse with own voice books, that we had an even distribution of adult, children's, and YA, and of course fiction and nonfiction. And then I guess there's a little bit of wizardry that happens with Troy Hoyles and Jamie Flowers in terms of what they're seeing in the marketplace, how they're seeing these books perform, where the holds seem to be coming from, and that goes a little bit into the back of mind math. I don't know if you want me to get more specific, because I might need to get back to you. Yep.
That's good. I have more questions, but let me make sure I'm not the only one asking. I really love this format. I know that sounds so silly because I usually don't like paper, but here I am checking off, like, oh, I already read some of these and I checked them off already. I am really curious to know if this format, how this performs, and if we see, because you might have some people that are going to just go and put all these things on hold, and therefore they will come up. So I would love to hear, like, in a few months, if you could come back and let us know about the performance of this. And then my last question is about the video series. I love that idea. I subscribe to a lot of these, like, here's 10 books that I recommend, quick overviews, and some of them will be like 6 words to summarize it. So I think it's really clever. What formats will it be available in, and how, and who will be delivering the reviews?
So we're working with our collections development team to identify staff who are active in selecting these materials to be the reviewers, the folks who are kind of on the front lines. We're going to start with a series of 5 to 7 videos, and then we'll continue if they perform well. They're going to be released on social media, and we'll produce them for our email newsletter series as well. So they'll be essentially 45 seconds to a minute long, short, engaging reviews of these materials. We feel like they're going to perform really well on Instagram especially, but we'll be putting them on all of our social media channels and also promoting them in email. Yeah.
I just had a question. I noticed here they're in alphabetical order by author. When you scan it, they're not in alphabetical order. Is it by popularity or like?
No, actually, what it brings up is the subject heading within our catalog for the Corazon collection. And I don't actually know how the list renders in BiblioCore.
That's the wizardry that Adam was mentioning.
Okay. Just
But
wondering,
we'll-
just
we can look into
because,
that for you,
like,
Judy,
I
and find
noticed some of them, like the ebooks and the audiobooks are like not available, like the very first ones, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if those are more popular than the ones at the end of the list online, so.
We'll look into how BiblioCore actually displays the titles and see if we can make them more parallel to what's in the brochure.
Because it's sorted by relevance. Yeah, it says it says that it's default sorted by relevance, so I don't know what that means, but
Okay.
you could change it to by title, though, Judy. Okay, something for you all to noodle on.
Would it be possible sometime in the future to get a breakdown of performance by language? I know you mentioned that they're available in multiple languages. I'd just be interested to see how they're doing.
Yeah, I could show you what the Spanish language ones, how they're doing. That's where the primary focus is. They're not all printed in Spanish just yet. They're not all available in translation. So it would be sort of just to zoom in on those few that are.
I think there's like so much interest and support for this that maybe I'll ask the director to consider next month or in 2 months to provide a page in the director's report that just breaks down all of these different criteria, because I think like, I know you're trying to avoid slides for whatever reason, yeah.
Yeah.
But it would be really interesting for us to get deeper insight, like when I look at the percentage of physical versus digital, like you added that extra context, which is great. Also, like, to understand what percentage of overall circulation it is, like I'm doing rough math about it, but that would be great to just see, and it doesn't have to be an ongoing thing, but maybe in one of the director reports you could give us a breakdown, and then if anyone has any additional questions, they can ask more at that time. Okay. All right. Thank you both. Amazing. Okay, next on the agenda, we have staff report, San Antonio Public Library mid-year 2025 performance metrics.
Hi, good evening. I'm happy to deliver our mid-year performance presentation. So thank you earlier for your questions in the director's report, so we'll kind of talk about some of those. So every month you are delivered this monthly performance report within the director's report. It is a wide lens into how our library system is performing. We do include our 3 key performance indicators and also some other operational measures, just to kind of show you how we're performing. So in this presentation, we'll talk about those, and then also we'll talk about updates and improvements to one page in particular, okay? And that's the virtual engagement page, and also just kind of color and formatting throughout the performance pages itself. So going straight into the improvements that were made to that virtual engagement page, the purpose of that page was to kind of demonstrate and show how are our users connecting with us online through marketing and also our web pages.
And this
how
is
those
on
are
page
used.
7 of the director's report, if anyone wants to follow along.
7. So last summer, we made that new page available where it had a measure of engagements and a separate measure for impressions. So what we've done is we renamed the page to focus on marketing and website engagement, and we replaced those 2 operational measures. So now what we're presenting is a new operational measure called marketing engagements. And what that is, it's really how we're connecting the reach out and how we're connecting. So it's things like the number of emails that we send that are actually opened, and also social media engagements that are actually taking action on our pages, like liking, commenting, sharing, doing something other than just, passing by. Now the second measure is website visits. So what this is doing is we have 3 sources of data for our web pages. So our mysapl.org is one of them. We do have our catalog, and in addition, our libguides, which is content that our staff create with information. So we're able to get information starting with fiscal year 24, and moving forward, we'll continue to provide that as just a way to kind of show 2 things. Again, it's how we are reaching out into our users online, and then how are they coming back to library online. I'll see if you have any questions about this change. We're pretty excited to do this. Last summer was our first attempt to kind of show, that relationship online, and we figured this is a great opportunity to enhance it and make it more meaningful, and kind of separate the two things of, again, marketing and then what actions are being done online. Okay.
I'm curious about so like marketing engagements to me as a graph doesn't make a ton of sense because you have campaigns that are going on at different times. So like you're gonna have those natural peaks and valleys. Can you give us some insight on like what items had the highest maybe like open rate for the emails and the highest engagement on the social media? Like were there certain topics or certain events that had like a high rate?
Let's see, Scott, would you be able to answer? Okay, thanks.
I'm about to start pulling double duty live stream and coming up to answer questions, so sorry about the headphones. Yeah, so I see what you're saying, Jaspreet. The peaks and valleys kind of demonstrate these surges in engagement on our campaigns. It was, I think, more pronounced when we were reporting on impressions, which are even more kind of all over the map. But so do I understand right that what you're looking for is sort of a little bit more context to what is driving those peaks and valleys? What kinds of...
Well, I think the peaks and valleys are expected, right? And there's no like year-over-year comparison because we're different campaigns at different times. But could you maybe tell us like what is the open rate? Maybe is this an open rate that you're showing the number of times a subscriber opens an email plus engagements? So you're showing two different things.
Right, we're showing two different metrics there. What's in that metric is total engagements on social media profiles for the month and total opens for the month in email. So not necessarily open rate, but the total times a user opened an email from us. So it is tied to how many emails we're sending, how much we're posting, how well that content performs. So, a lot of what you're seeing in the higher months is that we sent more email that month or that we posted more that month. So I think we can look at ways to improve the report in that way and provide a little bit more context for what's driving that traffic.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And like, it's all positive growth, so that's a great thing. But I think I myself and other trustees would probably like to know what is resonating, because I think that's the aspect of social media, right? Is like, what's resonating with patrons. And then a second question, for you, Randall, is this website visits, does that include visits to the app?
No, it no longer includes any of the app data. It's just web pages, which include the 3 sources.
Is the app visits on a different section, or has that just been removed?
No longer included in the report. Before, it was all that's available is app downloads, and we didn't feel that was quite comparable to like a visit or an actual session. So.
And Adam wants to add something additional.
Get a lot of the app usage through our Google Analytics 4 for the BiblioCommons instance, so it felt like redundant to copy them because it might be double counting things, but we do get some of that mobile app data through that Google Analytics instance. We hadn't discussed this before.
Brett wanted to add something as well?
On email opens, I'm trying to think how to ask this. Well, for example, I might read a library email and close it and go on to something else and then not remember something I read and come back to it. Does it count every time I open it or just the first time?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. So it counts every time you open the email, and the number being reported here is total opens, not unique opens. We have both numbers, so we know, Beth, when you open an email and you open it 3 times, we count you once in one category of data, and we count you 3 times in another category of data. What's being presented here are non-unique opens, so total opens. So we are including here demonstrating for that very thing when somebody is re-engaging with a message over and over again. Yeah, and so that also shows parity with the social media engagement numbers, because people may engage in multiple ways with a post. For example, they might comment, they might share it, they might like it, they might click on the link, or they might click on the image. So we wanted to make sure that those numbers were as comparable as possible. So what we're showing here is non-unique opens, so total opens.
Any advice on how to get the algorithm to behave better so that I hardly get any SAPL posts on my social medias. And it's very frustrating because I know they're out there.
We're out there, and the more you seek us out and click and like, the more the algorithm will feed you our content. That's really the most I can tell you. So you got to go directly to our page and like every single post, and then you'll see more.
You should wake up every morning and visit all of the social media sites.
I do.
I do too. I forgot to share in my director's and my chair report that I signed up for a library card from Bibliotech, and which is a beautiful card. But something I thought was really interesting when I was looking at their site is the number of apps and the different technology that they have available to use. And I think that it has not been a focus for the board in the past to really drill into app usage and other database usage, because there's been so many other great things for us to focus on and talk about. But it brought to attention that this is probably a great thing for us to find more ways to get visibility on, not only the app, not only like the SAPL app or the Libby app, but also the other databases and apps that we have available. And I think if we could find some time in the next year of meetings to dive into these, it would also be great for our own visibility, and then for others to find out more, right, about all the databases and all the things that are available to us. So a request in planning for future meetings.
I think that's a great question. We kind of discussed that in our meeting, like all this data. We have plenty of data, but we are showing only limited data to the board. But we do have tons of data, and this input is going to help us in discussing this.
Okay, so the rest of the presentation, it's really going to be focusing on mid-year. So when we talk about mid-year, the fiscal year started in October and ended through March. So that's our time frame that we're looking at. And so again, the three key performance indicators, circulation, that's the total number of checkouts plus renewals of both physical and digital materials. Hours of technology is the hours of public computers plus the public Wi-Fi use. And then the third one is library visits. So that's physical visits to any of the locations. So I'll spend a little bit of time just kind of orient you on this visual. The next slides that follow will kind of just mirror just with the data for each of those data points. So again, we're going to focus on circulation. That column in the left is going to be fiscal year 20. And then the axis, you'll notice, starts with 0 at the bottom all the way up to 5 million, right? And then the x-axis is going to show you across from left to right the different fiscal years. So you can see that there was a decline at the start of the pandemic from 20 moving into fiscal year 21. And then since then, as we've reopened, we continue that positive change, right? And we continue to do so. So the numbers that you see, the change from prior year, that's just a change between each of the columns or each of the years. So as we're focusing in mid-year for fiscal year 25, there was a 3% positive change compared to fiscal year 24. So then using that same template and just replacing the data focused now on library visits in fiscal year 20, in those first 6 months, we had 2.2 million visits recorded. The same trends with the decline at the start of the pandemic and then increases. And then for fiscal year 25 was 9% better than what it was the prior year. And if you recall, if you were here for the year-end performance for fiscal year 24, that trend that we see is pretty much common across all libraries across the country, where we had that decline and then we have this new normal. For hours of technology, in fiscal year 20, there were over 1.5 million hours recorded. Again, decline and then positive increases all the way through fiscal year 25, or 24 really. And then that change that we talked about happened for the Wi-Fi equipment and the software. Now, as we talk about targets and how they're set, I wanted to mention that we have one opportunity per fiscal year as part of budget development to create the targets that are set, right? So in a couple months later in the budget cycle, we'll have an opportunity to create targets that are more in alignment with this new data that we're receiving so that there will no longer be these negative trends in next fiscal year. So unfortunately, we couldn't have done that this for fiscal year 25, but there's an opportunity to do so as we work on next fiscal year.
Who is setting that guideline that you can't do a mid-year adjustment?
The budget office. Yeah.
And I wonder if they, if you were to explain to them the change in the technology use, they still don't allow for a mid-year adjustment?
Communication as far as it changes. Now, it's just not a typical practice to update performance measure. I know on the budget side, there is a mid-year adjustment, but it's not just something that's done for performance measures across the city.
And then a question about the library visits. I know there was a previous update, I think it might have been at the end of the year, Kathy may remember better, where you provided some data on like nationwide reduction of visits. I am curious though, Fernanda had asked a question about the types of programming, and I think library visits are going to be directly related to programming opportunities. So I think an opportunity to explore later is how do we ensure that the programming that we have is resonating with the community and we're offering the right types of programming. That's going to be a direct correlation to visits, right?
There, I believe it's page 9 on the performance report. There is one chart. It does overlay visits with the number of program offerings. It's a little blue line graph, and you can kind of see that they do
Madam
mirror
Chair?
each other.
I have a question in regards to that. So then looking at that report, we have 9 and just doing a quick glance, we have 9 libraries that had 0 older adults attendance, and we had 9 libraries that had no older adult programming at all for the month of March.
That goes back to how programs are designed and offered. I think there's going to be maybe some follow-up on that from earlier questions.
Yeah, good observation, Fernanda, thank you.
So now this is a new chart, just now focused on programs. So there are about 7,700 programs that we offered in 2020, similar trends down to 21, and there have been increases through 2025. So we did 6% more than we did last year. Now, programs is one of those operational measures that we don't have any targets that we do set every year, but since it's such an important service that we offer, it's something that we do always highlight in the report, and it's the reason why it's included in this presentation. Can't have a program without attendance, so here's just one more visual that just shows you over 142,000 in attendance in fiscal year 20, and then scrolling along all the way through the right side, 25 was a 2% change from the previous year with over 109,000 attendance. So that's the last chart that I have, just a few more slides. So in summary, if we look at the targets that we set for those first 6 months of fiscal year 25, and then we put side by side the actuals for each of those. For circulation, we came at 3% above that target goal that was set. Visits was also positive, 8% above the goal. And then hours of technology was the one that we talked quite a bit about, where it's 19% below. Now, if we take each of those 3 and we add them together, the targets was just about 7.24 as a target goal, and the actual was greater. It was 7.28. So although behavior has changed as an aggregate measure of everything that we do offer, we are still exceeding the targets that we set. Just, there's changes with how the collections use, or changes with how the visits have occurred and technology, but we're still exceeding those targets that are set. So this is my last slide, just kind of going over key takeaways. Just to repeat, change in technology has affected our KPI for hours of technology. Circulation and visits are ahead of the targets, mostly positive. And of course, we know because of that over 7 million times we counted use, we know that our community continues to use all of our resources and services. and use is up, and behavior has changed.
What was the behavior that changed? Sorry, I missed that.
Behavior was, well, it's not a slide in this presentation, but just kind of, we know this, that split of physical and digital changing. We have significant growth in, digital circulation versus before the pandemic. And then the number of visitors, also changed because of that.
The significant change in physical and digital is since the pandemic? Okay.
I believe in 2020 it was about a quarter was digital, and now it's like 50% of total. So that was a pretty significant, sharp change, and that's, again, a trend that is nationwide.
Are we seeing that different from last year?
Pretty much the same. Last year compared to this year, that 50-50 split is pretty much stabilized. If you go back to 21 and 22, it was, still changing, but now it's a steady measure. It remains pretty consistent.
Questions for Randall? Okay, thank you. All right, next we have a staff report. I'm sorry, review and consider the approval of the amendment to the agreement between the Landa Gardens Conservancy and the San Antonio Public Library. And Jake is going to be presenting this.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure tonight at my last board meeting here at the San Antonio Public Library to highlight the wonderful work of a very special stakeholder group that we have here with the library, the Landa Gardens Conservancy. And we do have two of our past presidents of the Conservancy, Catherine Vexler and Marianne Heilman, here to help answer any additional questions you might have as we have a short discussion and consider approval of the amendment to the agreement. So, a quick background, and y'all do have the copies of the proposed agreement in your binders. Back in 1946, just letting everybody know that that's when the Landa Home and Gardens were gifted to the city of San Antonio to be used as a free public library and children's playground. That playground started to come into existence, and I did not realize this until I read the information on the Gardens Conservancy website. That didn't start coming into existence until 1994, when a group of neighbors to the Landa Library formed an alliance and started to fundraise to build that playground. The playground was built in 1998, and then the group kept their steam going. They kept moving forward. 2001, the Landa Gardens Conservancy, Landa Library Alliance and MVHA formed the Landa Gardens Committee, which became the Landa Gardens Conservancy. When they started to fundraise in 2004, and then in 2008, about just shy of 17 years ago, the Landa Gardens opened to the public for all to enjoy. This agreement really kind of says how we work together, and a couple things about how we coordinate together. The Landa Branch Public Service Administrator and the manager are liaisons to the LGC and attend board meetings, and we're in constant communication. Unique to the city, to our libraries, the Landa Gardens Conservancy is responsible for the maintenance and beautification of the grounds. They really do all the work there to keep the grounds that wonderful and beautiful, and just, they do all that work. We help contribute, we do some work, the parks do some work, we contribute funds to that, but it's really a labor of love for the LGC, who are a 501c3, to get that done. And they do hold two major fundraising events each year. May month coming up now, great slate of activities for people of all ages, and then the Landa Nights in October. Just noting that we did original agreements 2006, updated a few times throughout the years, and now we're proposing the amended agreement tonight. And a short overview of what we have in this agreement that's changed. We're incorporating the revised master plan for the library, for Landa grounds. And those who were at the meeting in June 2024, the board approved the master plan that was designed by the LGC, and they've been working to fundraise for this so that soon they can get started with construction on some additional work with the Landa grounds. We did add language on water usage, because that's becoming a very important subject, here in San Antonio with drought conditions and whatnot, and then.
Can you provide a summary of the water usage provision? Or maybe our city attorney can give us an overview of that?
It mainly has to do with continued monitoring of the water for irrigation, because Landa has two lines coming in, one for the building and one for the irrigation, like a lot of our libraries do. The LGC is responsible for the irrigation, so it's continued monitoring of that. If there are any issues with the irrigation system as laid out, broken sprinklers, whatnot, both sides will be in touch. You know, the first people to see that something's broken are going to report it to each other. The LGC will follow all the rules about water usage and whatnot. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, you're good. And just to add on to that, we've included some language that aligns with SAW's water restrictions as well. So just to make sure we're on the same page there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's what that's really what it's covering with the water usage. Just make sure that we're all being great neighbors and using the water appropriately. And then there's some additional information about how we work together, and then Christina did a great job in reorganizing this agreement so it's easier to find the information in there. So the recommended action is to approve the amendment to the agreement, which then we would have Sucret sign it, and we'll be able to go forward continuing our partnership with the Land and Gardens Conservancy.
I'll entertain a motion for approval, and then we can enter into a period of discussion.
I move approval of the agreement between amendment to the agreement between the Land and Gardens Conservancy and the San Antonio Public Library.
Have a first. Do we have a second? Carla. Okay, thank you, Carla. Thank you, Beth and Carla. Okay, questions about the agreement? I did a quick read through. So.
And did you highlight, is this the revised agreement that we got today? Yes. Did you highlight like the new changes on the agreement? Can we go we can highlight where, do you think, where exactly the changes are?
We can walk through that. Essentially, the part under water usage are the changes that has the added language, which I will be pulling that up in a second. Starting on page 4, thank you. So it's essentially everything under that water usage and conservation part is new language.
What about the system's ground use and maintenance? Is that also a change, or is that, the old agreement is structured a little bit differently, so it's not that easy for me to find what's different? Do you know, or Christina, could you tell us if the system's ground use and maintenance, is there anything noteworthy different?
Nothing major. There might have been just a few minor wording issues, but most of that section is, all of that section, I should say, is materially the same as the previous amendment.
Is the indemnification the same level on both agreements for the city and for the library? Okay. And another question about playground maintenance. I see here that the library accepts responsibility for keeping the playground equipment safe. Is there any maintenance provided by LGC, or is that primarily done by the library, the maintenance of the playground?
Primarily the library with the Parks Department.
So it's the Parks Department rather than the library. Okay. Other questions?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to say that, and I apologize, I know I go on about this, but in a legal document, there, for instance, actually was a case where a labor contract dispute resolved on whether or not there was a comma in a clause. On page 6, paragraph 28, the second sentence that begins with notwithstanding, there are a bunch of periods that shouldn't be in there, and then the final clause of that sentence, which ought to be a part of that sentence, begins with a capital letter and becomes a new sentence, which it shouldn't do. And I noticed some other typos in the document when I was reviewing it earlier. So I just wanted to ask if we could change that before final execution. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, where it says "and complete disclosure." Okay. Okay, any other questions about the agreement? Okay, well, the Landa Gardens are a beautiful gem in our library system. I love visiting any time of year except for April, when all the oak trees are actively attacking me. So I appreciate the work that's gone into this agreement. Let's go ahead and do a roll call vote. Nicholas, can you help us with that?
Carla Gurgiolo. Joanne Harris. Josie Martinez.
Aye.
Andrea Sanchez Muniz is absent. Marianne Valdez Hernandez.
Aye.
Fernando Cardenas.
Aye.
Michelle Dalbis Robledo.
Aye.
Marcy Ince.
Aye.
Beth Graham.
Aye.
Cruz. Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, and thank you for all of the work that you do in the Landa Gardens Conservancy. Please pass the message on to the other members of your organization. Next, we have review and consider retiring the capital campaign fundraising naming opportunities for Central, Encino, Forest Hills, Macrelis, and Memorial. Take it away, Dale.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Trustees, Library Director. So we have some items here that have been approved by the naming committee. I first need to let you know that. So just as a reminder, when we begin a capital campaign, by our naming policy, you, the trustees, open the opportunity for a capital campaign that can be associated with naming. And the naming committee identifies spaces that could be named, and working with the facilities committee identifies the minimum donation amount for that. During that time, those spaces can only be named by a capital campaign. So they couldn't be, like a regular member of the community couldn't just come and say, I'd like you to name the meeting room after my grandma. So the process also then includes closing that opportunity. The naming policy assumes that all this is happening in a brand new library. So it kind of assumes once the library opens, you, the trustees, would take this action. But as you know, in the last bond cycle, these capital campaigns were associated with libraries that were already open. So we kind of left it a little longer. I mean, obviously, the libraries are already open. So I just want to walk through what these items are that we're going to ask to retire. So basically what these do is, what your action tonight would do if you approve this, it would sort of put these back in the, like, could be named by the community. It ends the capital campaign and just puts them back. Now, Amy's still here. So if someone were to come to the foundation and say, hey, I've got $1 million and I'd like to whatever, then of course she could come back to you. So this doesn't mean it could never be named in association with a capital campaign. It just means it puts it back to the community. So the items for consideration are several, and we just had not done this for a little while. Central Library, there are 3 locations. The Family Connect area, that's the computer area. The lactation area and the family restrooms. All of these areas were constructed. They do exist. They're just not named. The Encino Branch Library, the foundation in the past had asked us to open this, as you can see in 2018, with a possible donor to enhance the drive-through. That it seems logical that we can just close that now. Forest Hills, obviously the branch does exist, and there wasn't any particular interest in renaming the whole branch. The Connect computer area does exist in the library and the conference room. And as you know, we do still have the active naming opportunity for the teen area, so that this doesn't change that. McCreeless, it's the children's area, teen area, and adult learning area. Memorial, the children's, teen, and adult learning area. And again, all of these areas were constructed. The gifts, these naming gifts were not required to have, they would have just enhanced. All that's operational and all there, just not named. So again, as I said, if you approve these, retiring these capital campaign, fundraising, naming opportunities, could we put more adjectives, then that would allow, that would just put them back in the community naming process.
Okay, thank you. And I believe we can do these all in one motion.
Absolutely. I wanted to present them this way, and Jessica and I talked about this, so you could, like if there was one or something you wanted to leave out, but it definitely could be one motion as well.
I don't think we have a motion slide, but maybe someone can just read it from the agenda and make a motion based on that.
Madam Chair. Yes, I'd like to motion to retire the capital campaign's fundraising naming opportunities as presented for all the libraries presented.
Is that Beth? Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, a roll call vote.
Carla Gurgiolo. Joanne Harris. Josie Martinez.
Aye.
Andrea Sanchez Muniz is absent. Marianne Valdez Hernandez.
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas.
Aye.
Michelle Dalby Robledo.
Aye.
Marcy Ince.
Aye.
Beth Graham.
Aye.
Judy Cruz. Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Dale, for presenting that. And then finally, we have a prioritization of programs for the fiscal year 2026 budget development process and take appropriate action. Kathy.
Good evening, Board and Board Chair, Director. It's the most wonderful time of the year, budget season. So the Budget Committee has been meeting. They met to bring forward to the full board this prioritization exercise tonight. So there have been a couple of steps in the budget process so far. There's also the public-facing budget calendar at your place. You should see a sheet that kind of looks like this at your place if you want to follow along with what's happened so far. So the big major step that has happened so far was back in February, the City Council had a session to recommend the budget calendar for the year. The next big milestone comes up May 7th. As I think Gabby mentioned earlier, it'll be 2 pieces for that B session of City Council, which is the 6+6 presentation, which means for the current fiscal year 2025, what has happened so far with expenditures against the budget for the first 6 months of the fiscal year, and what does it look like going through the end of the year. At the same time, the budget director generally presents the 5-year forecast. So that's a 5-year look at revenue for the city and expenditures. And at that point, we really get a sense of what the forecast is for the next budget development cycle, whether there's an anticipated deficit or not. So for tonight, at this point in the budget process, we wanted to get some high-level input from the board about your priorities in terms of the services and resources that the library offers, because that will be used through the summer to develop specific recommendations in alignment with the budget process. So tonight is high-level input. You won't be ranking specific proposals, but you'll be looking at the programs, the 10 programs of the library system, to give us a relative prioritization. Then that will be used as the process goes forward. A big part of the budget committee's input was to make sure that we're looking at the alignment of your strategic plan goals with the programs, and to take that into consideration in this exercise tonight. So I'll share with you a little bit more about that in a minute. And then, again, this will be the board's high-level input to the library director and the team to develop more specific proposals. At this point in the process, we don't know yet what exactly it'll look like in terms of what we can submit as a city department on the board's behalf in terms of improvements. So, for example, last cycle, we were able to submit 2 improvements into the process for consideration. And we also don't know yet at this point if there'll be a reduction exercise. But if those things do develop, we would use this guidance to develop specific proposals. So these are our 10 library programs. These are neutrally in alphabetical order, and there is a handout going around to you that lists all of these 10 programs. This is comprehensive to everything the library does. And these will look very familiar because these are the 10 programs we've used to organize the budget in the past. In addition, of course, you approved a year ago the new strategic plan. So there are also 8 strategic goals in that plan. I believe we also left at your place a copy of the strategic plan if you want to refresh on anything particularly about those 8 goals. So one question we do talk about is what's the difference between the goals in the strategic plan and the programs? So the main difference is that the strategic plan, of course, is designed to get us focused on certain priorities for action. So those 8 goals are the focused priorities of the board. The programs, on the other hand, are comprehensive to every single thing we do. So if you look at all 10 of our programs in the budget document, for example, you add up all the dollars we spend on those programs and all the personnel that's assigned to those programs, it adds up to 100% of our budget. So the strategic goals are really 2 prioritized focus areas. The programs are comprehensive to everything we do. So the handout you have in front of you is our staff attempt to kind of do a crosswalk. So you'll see along the left of the page all the programs that, the 10 programs that the library offers. You'll see a program description that gives you some high-level information about what the scope of each program is. You'll see the dollars associated with that program, and this is the 2025 adopted budget, and then the assigned positions to that program. And again, when you look at the total, it adds up to our total budget and our total personnel complement. So this is a way to look at the 10 different areas of what we offer and what resources we use. Then the last piece is the part responsive to the budget committee's input, which is, okay, well, how does that align to our goals? So we've listed the staff's assessment of which strategic goals apply to each program. So you'll see that as the last column. So I'll pause there for questions at this point, and then I can give a little bit of information about the exercise. So the board can give us your priorities. Ask questions as the exercise goes along too, if you have anything specific as we go along. So the idea tonight was to do something similar to what the board has done in the past. The budget committee felt like this was a good way to do the prioritization exercise, so you all get to get up and move around. It's a dot exercise, which I'm sure you're familiar with. You will be given 3 dots to place on your priorities of the various programs on these big pieces of paper to the left. So on each of the big pads will be one program and what strategic goals are associated with that program. You can place your 3 dots on any one of them. You could place all 3 of your dots if you want to go whole hog on one program because you think it's just the very most important thing we do. And then we'll score it by a simple count of your dots to rank the programs. We anticipate, of course, there'll probably be some ties, and that's okay because really this ranking is to give some input from the board, and then the library director will bring forward to you some professional recommendations among those programs. So it's okay if there ends up being ties, that we can work with that.
And can we enter into discussion prior to putting our dots up there? Is there time?
Could absolutely do that, or you can vote and go into discussion, whichever you prefer.
Action item, correct? Okay. So remind me, Kathy, what would be the right way to do this? Because we need to distribute our dots. We need to have a discussion at some point. And then I assume you, Nathan, and Jessica will be writing down what the final is, and then we take action on that? Yes. Okay.
So one approach, and this is similar to what was done before with the dot exercise, is you could each put your dots and vote, so to speak, on the programs, and then you could, as a team, you're a team, as a board, discuss how you voted, why you voted that way, and see if anyone wants to change anything, and then we would do the scoring.
I have a question that I'd like to raise, and I'd like some staff input on it. So can I do that without an open motion, since this is kind of an involved process? And this is I'm thinking about so when we did the strategic plan, which we all did, many of us did together, we have goals 7 and 8, which are on page 14 and 15 of the strategic plan, which focuses on, one is a focus on getting those in the community who are not currently active patrons of the, aren't actively patrons of the library. And then goal 8 is about partnerships extending beyond the normal reach of the library. Kind of thinking about this, it's not the greatest analogy, but they have this idea of a non-taker, someone who's not a non-taker of your service. And they are the 7 and 8, so they were lower on our priority list. But Randall presented about the program growth and our physical visits being down, and I just wonder if this is an opportunity for us to just rethink that. It's a brand new year, so maybe we should talk about that. I don't have anything specific in mind, but the first thing that came to mind is who is not taking advantage of the services, who doesn't know about it, how would we reach them, and our partnerships maybe now playing a bigger role than they were in years past. So maybe we could start there as a discussion point. I'd love to hear from trustees or the library director or staff if you have anything that you'd like to input into that conversation.
Can I add something? Sure. Yeah. Something like this we discussed because we are working on our strategic plan, and we are in the process of creating multiple task force to attack every single goal. And one other thing we have been discussing, and this is recently we started talking about, that we want representation from all the branches. We want representation from frontline staff. We want representation from mid-level staff, and so on. I am personally not seeing these 8 goals as number 1 and number 8. And I know staff has mentioned to me that's what the board's intention was, and that's how it was decided. I believe we will tackle that later. Right now, we just, my goal is, and my team's goal is to understand how we can reach and attain these 8 goals, and that's why we are planning on creating this task force and start working on that.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that context. I mean, anytime you have 8, you got to pick one to be one, right? And I think we did vote on the order of the items. So my recollection, and correct me if I'm wrong, is like number 1 is the most important and number 8, right? But I appreciate and acknowledge your statement that they're all important and you want to move the mark on all of them. I guess my question is a little bit just to focus the conversation on like, have things changed based on what we're seeing from the latest performance? And should we consider, but so what is basically what, what are we going to do about it? This is our opportunity to vote on how we want to devote time to that. Any other trustees have any thoughts or agree, disagree?
So, even if we will pick 1 or 2, and that's the city's requirement, that does not mean we will stop working on rest of the goals.
Kathy or Dale, can you give us any guidance on like the trade-off between something like strategic initiatives, management and administration, which is like very focused on external partnerships and stakeholders, versus like adult services and children's services in terms of like development of programming and like being able to offer programming? Any thoughts on that? Benefit, like what is the opportunity cost of like trying to put more emphasis on strategic initiatives, management and administration, versus putting a similar amount of resource allocation and budget allocation into adult services and children's services?
I know this is kind of a general answer, but in terms of, so the exercise tonight, of course, is to rank the programs to kind of guide what specific budget requests we would bring forward to the board. So I think, in short, to your point, Jaspreet, any proposal that we would bring forward to the board would be focused on investing resources to increase visits, to increase technology use, and to increase circulation. So I think it really comes down to, and there would be a component of it, for example, again, to your point, Jaspreet, about non-users. So let's say that I don't really want to bring up any particular program. Okay, I'll just bring up one. So let's say you decide tonight that collections is one of your top priorities. There would also be that part of that initiative that we would propose to request additional resources that would draw in non-users. So I don't know that this helps you because basically your priorities are to increase, library use. Your priorities are to get non-users to use the library. And so we would incorporate that into any proposal that we present to you. I know it's a very difficult exercise. Thank you. Absolutely.
So I think I agree with everything Kathy said. I would think you know, if you were thinking about, let's put more emphasis on specifically developing partnerships, you know, making formal partnerships. That, to me, would be the strategic initiatives, management, and administration, which in the past we've thought of it as sort of operating the library. We didn't have partnerships there, but that would be something like Crescencia would be working with, or Morgan would be working with, you know, specific organizations. But if you're thinking about something more like encouraging or us finding ways to help branch staff make local connections for adult services, then I would call that adult services. That would be the way I would think of those two things differently, where one would be more like from the branch and central staff, and the other one would be the more administrative, you know, we call the president of whatever and, you know, have a meeting with them. I think both things are effective. I don't think one is ineffective or better or worse than the other. I just think, you know, one is kind of from the top down and one is from the bottom up.
I had the AARP example in mind because, Fernanda, you raised a great point about the aging population, and they are looking for things to do to like stay active and be educated. And I just think like, oh, if the AARP were to like double down on a library partnership, because they're a trusted brand already, it seems theoretically like it would be super successful. And so if that's been a limitation in the past, is it time, like, are the tides shifting and it's time to like do more of those? That was where my question came from.
And thank you, Madam Chair, for bringing that up. And, you know, and I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with the statistics, but according to the U.S. Census, by 2035, there will be more older adults than kids in the city. So the city is aging. 2035 is not far. That's 10 years from now. Yeah.
You know, when we're talking about the partnerships and things like that, that's really nice. But the other thing I was thinking also is that we're not capturing that. Because like when I sign in to go to other classes, like I've gone to the sand making and everything, if the sign in had just a little block with the ages on top where you could just check 60 plus, I would check that. But they don't, and then the staff is having to generate that themselves, who they think might be over 60 for each class, and those type of things. But that's just what I was talking about, and everything, you know, that's important, but like I said, we're not capturing.
Discussion? All right, should we just go ahead and vote then, and then we can see how things land? Yeah, okay, thank you. I would like more money and more dots.
Well,
but
in honor of Paul Stahl, I'll say, please do not rip your dots in half.
Yes.
No.
How are we all doing? Was it too loud? All right. I think we are ready, if you are.
Okay, thank you. It looks like we have our results. These are just like preliminary results. We still have the opportunity to change our votes, I understand. So Kathy, do you mind just walking us through and reading them?
So based on the votes, we've ranked these. So with a score of 10 dots, community engagement was ranked 1. With a score of 5, adult services is ranked 2. Children's and access to information branch libraries tied for rank 3 at 4 votes each. Then next, at rank 4 was library collection of books and materials with 3 votes for that. Another tie between library facilities and spaces and teen services with 2 votes each. Then a 3-way tie for rank 6 of strategic initiatives, management and administration, access to information, central library, and technology, which did not receive any dots.
Any questions or comments? Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So
Jordan.
Kathy, I'm thinking with the technology, I'm thinking that the parts that I see as doing real well, I didn't waste my dot on it. But it's important, you know.
I thought something similar with Central, like Central and Adult Services. They're doing great, and we're not voting on them as like a focus area that we really need to drill into. Yeah, great clarification.
We'll be using technology to achieve any of these goals anyways. So.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Does anybody need time to change a vote?
Before I came here tonight, I sat with Jeff, who is our library director out in Maverick. Sat and talked to him for about, 20 minutes, a half an hour. And I asked him, coincidentally, what he thought was the most important thing that the library does. And we agreed it's to educate and to excite children, because children are the future users of our libraries. And they are also the future funders of our libraries. They are the future people who are going to be voting on our libraries. And they are the people that have to be comfortable enough with the libraries and understanding the value of those libraries. So that's why one of my dots went to children, and I will not ever move that.
Thank you, Michelle, for sharing that. Beth? Okay.
My
Anyone
mouth
else?
is full, just a
No
minute.
problem. Anyone else want to share comments or feedback? I know I had a chance to visit with a few of you, so if you...
I just wanted to say that traditionally, we lose library customers as they reach their teen years. And if we don't start reaching out to them more, we're going to continue to lose them. And then we won't have funders and we won't have adult library users, and that's why one of my dots is on teen services.
Kathy, I think that library facilities and spaces kind of go with the community engagement, because you can open those up and people can be more aware of what's available that way. That's what I think.
I think many of them are tied, but for this, they're separate. Do you want to change? Yeah. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to... Do we have a recommendation? Okay, I was going to pull up the... Yes, it would be approve the prioritization of programs for the fiscal year 2026 budget development. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Could you go back to the previous screen, Edward? Yeah, so we have, it's the 2 4s, which is children's services and access to information. Should we break the tie on that one?
Strictly necessary, of course, the board could choose to do that. The way we use this is to develop professional recommendations to you of specific proposals. And quite frankly, because we don't know exactly what it's going to look like this year, we can work with this ranking as it is.
Back rank. Okay, and should the ranking be included in the motion?
I think so. I think when, I can't, it's not working for me to advance. Go back to the presentation. We just have some wording you can use. I think it's as discussed or.
I think let's entertain a motion, and I would like the motion to include the scoring. So we'll ask Edward to flip back to the other screen once we have a person who's going to make the motion. So I'll entertain a motion for action.
I'll move to instruct the library director to use the program ranking as finalized in this meeting in the development of budget requests in the city's FY 2026 budget development process. And in the order that the board ranked it, which is do you want me to read the scores also, or? Okay. Community engagement, number 1, adult services 2, children services 3, access to information, branch libraries 3, library collection of books and materials 4, library facilities and spaces 5, teen services 5, strategic initiatives, management administration 6, and I think there's a couple more on the bottom. Sir, I think you just need to, oh, okay. I think there's like 2 more. Is it access to information 6 and technology? Right, okay, access to information central library 6 and then technology 6 also.
Carla Gurgiolo. Joanne Harris. Josie Martinez.
Aye.
Andrea Sanchez Muniz is absent. Marianne Valdez Hernandez.
Aye.
Fernando Cardenas.
Aye.
Michelle Dalbis Robledo.
Aye.
Marcy Ince.
Aye.
Beth Graham.
Aye.
Judy Cruz.
Aye.
Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And thank you all for that hard work and concentration on that. And thank you, Sukrit and Kathy, Nathan, Jessica, and the rest of the staff. I know there's like a full team effort. We are excited about the possibility of extending our strategic plan work. So keep us in the loop between Joanne and Kathy about the budget development process. We're definitely interested to hear more. And at this time, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Is it related?
Y'all out the door.
Is it a question about the budget development process?
No, it's not. Are we not going to be able to hear the public comments that are phoned in or emailed in?
We are going to read them into the record, so they'll be in the minutes, but we're not going to read them out loud anymore because we're following the model that City Council has set out. And yes. Yes, I will. And Marcy's going to make a motion, I can tell, I can see it. Okay.
But I want to just say one thing. Everybody, please, please, please go out and vote. I'm an election judge. I can tell you, Maureen Maverick has 330 votes yesterday, and we were 3rd in the city. That is an embarrassment. Get out and vote.
Okay. Thank you all. Have a good night.